to the Jamaica Funk Show. Wow, I tell you, it's been a interesting week, and I was looking at a show today, a movie called Victorious. No, it wasn't Victorious. Anyways, I'll tell you what the name of it is when I think of it. Fooey on me for forgetting the name of this movie. Um, but anyways, I was looking at this movie, and the movie was about Nelson Mandela and how he got control over South Africa, which was amazing what the man did and how he wound up controlling his country. One of the things that Nelson did is he played off of something that the whole country um, took pride in. And part of the country didn't even know that they took pride in it. But um, in South Africa, their game of choice is called rugby. And when Nelson Mandela came into power, the white South Africans were cheering for the rugby team, but the black South Africans were cheering for anybody but the South African rugby team. And what he did is he united his people with with the game of rugby by bringing them all together, by uh, you know, convincing them that they really, really needed this team to work. And it was not only just for the white South Africans, but it was for the black South Africans. And the reason why the black South Africans weren't interested in dealing with this team is because, it was a symbol of oppression for them. And they were so used to being oppressed by the white South Africans that they could not find themselves cheering for them. And but Mandela kind of slipped a little quickie in on them without them realizing what he was doing. But he knew that he had to unify the blacks and the white South Africans if he was going to have a whole country. And he did. He did that through getting them to fall in love with their rugby team and their rugby team going out and winning the World Cup. And I believe it was in 1995 when they won the World Cup. But when they won the World Cup, I mean, it just totally, totally, totally united South Africa. So I say all of this because the game of choice in South Africa, or at least one of the games of choice in South Africa, is rugby. One of the games of choice here in America is basketball. And this is March Madness time. You got 16 teams playing, for the pennant, for the NCAA championship. So tonight we're going to be talking with Alvin Washington. He's one of my sports enthusiasts and sports experts as far as I'm concerned, because he knows quite a bit about sports. And then we're going to play some nice reggae music for you tonight. So I want you to sit back, relax. I want you to grab that last piece of jerk chicken and whatever it is that you're eating or drinking. And let's get ready for some show enough, show enough. Mama, shut your mouth. Reggae music. Well, I remind.
Been sitting here, baby. I've been waiting on you, baby. I've been keeping my cool, taking it smooth, watching all the guys manufacturing lies. Now I know it's time. Break away from the crowd. You and me ought to be alone, far away from the loud, where our voices are the only sound. Oh, could you be that person? Yeah, be that person. begin. Break away, one and one. Introduction to a part of me that's little known. You'll fit just right in my humble home. No restriction, you'll be free to do. I'm giving me to you. So could you be that person? Yeah, be the person I'd wanna be with. I'd give my left for. Yeah, will you be that person? Yeah, be that person. Oh, you can make it happen. Give me profile once again. As far as I'm concerned, I've waited long, now it's my turn. Oh, what a waiting, yeah. Are you relating? Now will you be that person? Yeah, be that person. Make it happen. Give me profile once again. Break away from the crowd. You and me ought to be alone. Far away from the loud, where our voices are the only sound. Oh, will you be that person? Yeah, be that person. I wanna be with. I'll give my last for. Yeah, will you be that person? Yeah, be that person. You can make it happen. Give me profile once again. Be the person, yeah. Be the person. Make it happen. Give me something in my life. Oh, make it happen. Yeah. Oh, promise that you be there for me, and you'll never let me down.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jamaica Funk Show. And I got the privilege and the opportunity to bring one of my friends on, Mr. Alvin Washington. Yeah, what's cracking, Alvin?
I tell you, I've been chewing the fat, as the saying goes, with some of my sports inclined colleagues across the media world here, and I have to tell you, they're not believing what the heck this tournament has been doing. But that's why it's called March Madness.
Yeah.
You never know.
You are absolutely right. It is madness. You can call it that. You can definitely call it. I mean, look at the number one team, Gonzaga Bulldogs. I mean, really?
Yes, definitely.
Wow. Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I saw it coming. I mean, granted, they did lose to BYU in the last regular season game of the year.
Yeah, but that's the only one they lost.
Is it? I mean, their non-conference schedule, they're always scheduling clubs that will help them, get a better profile in the upcoming tournament because that's usually what the selection committee is looking for. How do you fare against their top 50? And most of those top 50 are in the weekly polls that come out every week. The Associated Press Media Poll and the USA Today Coaches Poll. Those are the two big polls that everybody pay attention to as the top teams in the country. Now, for just a hot sec, Northwestern was in that media top 25 until they got beat by Purdue. They've been bubbling under ever since. But a marquee win against Wisconsin in the conference at Madison. It definitely was the linchpin for Northwestern getting into the tournament this year. You know, Wisconsin was number 7 at the time. You win on the road against a top 10 opponent, that raises your profile.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list of the 16 top teams that are, shooting for this NCAA championship. And you give me your take on them. So we just talked about Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Right.
So tell me what you think about the Kansas City Jayhawks, which is number 2.
Well, you're just speaking the Kansas Jayhawks out of Lawrence, which is about, as the crow flies, about a half hour west of Kansas City on I-70. Here's a team that time and again continues to show everybody that, they're one of the blue bloods of the NCAA tournament. Got a few titles under their belts nationally. The last title, I believe I remember, somewhere this millennium, they got a title under Bill Self. Here's a club that recently won its 13th consecutive Big 12 regular season title. They tied UCLA for the most consecutive regular season championships in NCAA Division I history. A little bit of controversy at the start of the tournament because that freshman Jackson was involved in an interesting domestic violence situation that wound up being a worse for wear for the victim instead of him.
Wow.
Which I'm still trying to figure out how the heck that happened, but then again, this is Kansas we're talking about. That notwithstanding. You see this kid on the court, talent-wise, he is indeed one of the best freshmen in the country. Everybody's talking to him being one and done, top 5 prospect, all that fun stuff. Do I see Kansas potentially making it to Phoenix? Yeah. I don't see any bit of a challenge coming out of their bracket, so I'm not going to put them in it because the way that this tournament has gone, especially with top seed Villanova going down, 2 seed Duke going down, 2 seed Louisville going down. I'm going to say Kansas is a odds-on favorite for Phoenix, but I'm not going to ink them in just yet.
Okay. So what about Arizona Wildcats?
Here is a club that I think is the scariest of all 16 teams remaining. I saw them in the Pac-12 championship in what has been a classic showdown against UCLA. They just wore down, I think, one of the better teams out west down the stretch. This kid Markkinen out of Finland, 7 feet tall. He's got a nice stroke, especially at the free throw line. He is almost automatic at the free throw line, and that's the type of person you need heading into the later stages of this tournament. When you need to salt away the game, you need to hit those free throws at the foul line. Those free throws are the difference between you surviving and advancing and you taking the next day smoking out of wherever you at.
And they say he has no match. There's no match on the field for him.
It's tough.
Yeah.
To see somebody like him. The pro equivalent to him might be Dirk Nowitzki right now.
Yeah, but that's a stretch. So
it's a stretch, but again, you're talking consistency here. This young man has been one of the better free throw shooters in the country. He is the number 1 free throw shooter in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
At darn near 90%.
Okay.
I would want the ball in his hands down the stretch if I need to salt the game away at the line.
Well, yeah, I agree. Now, what about number 4, UCLA Bronze?
UCLA, a couple of kids on here you need to watch for. Lonzo Ball, you know his dad is popping off at the mouth here, there, and everywhere, but the kid's got skills.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot dispute that one bit. The one person they're not talking about too much is Bryce Alford. Bryce Alford has had a tough start to the tournament, but whenever he gets going, you know, to build a combo guard, and not to mention his dad, Steve, is a Hall of Famer himself on the collegiate level, having won the 1987 championship at Indiana. You know, Bryce has nowhere to go but up from here. So I think UCLA has a strong opportunity, but they're going up against Kentucky.
Yes.
And you know the pedigree of Kentucky.
Yeah, well, that's number 5, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Here's a club that, as of late, has mastered developing one-and-done players. What do I mean by one-and-done? They only spend 1 year at the collegiate level, and then you declare for the NBA draft. There are a lot. This is the sort of high school extended, per se, as opposed to when we had that rash of high school players just coming straight to the NBA and bypassing college. LeBron James and Kobe Bryant are prime examples,
right.
But they've also won championships.
Right.
Kevin Garnett being another one too. He's got a side of himself. Recent one and dones: Karl Anthony Towns, Carmelo Anthony comes to mind out of Syracuse. You know, Derrick Rose is a one and done out of Memphis. You know, you do what you do. You make yourself known, and if you're lucky enough, you get into the league and make a lot of money. Kentucky has been able to do that with John Calipari at the helm. I don't think they've been able to do anything like that with any other coach since 2000 other than John Calipari.
Okay. What about number 6, West Virginia Mountaineers?
I like this team. This is my sleeper team to make the Final Four. People are still asleep on Bobby Huggins. And I first come to hear about Bobby when he took Cincinnati to the Final Four for that one magical year. He is a defense-first coach. You cannot have enough of those on your club. This West Virginia team can spread a three-point shooting team out to the edges to the point where the end lines become an extra defender. You know, and they're unable to get the ball inside to their post guy. You know, they've been able to wear their first 2 opponents down exactly like that. But it's going to get a little tougher here in the Sweet 16 because, you know, some of these clubs have had a little bit of time to see what West Virginia does, what their tendencies are. And that's the difference between the second weekend in the NCAA tournament and the first weekend. You make it to that Sweet 16, now you got a little bit of extra time to see what your potential next opponents can do, could do, and all that other fun stuff.
Okay, what about number 7, North Carolina Tar Heels?
North Carolina has this young man named Meeks. He has been an absolute monster in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I believe he's player of the year down there. Can run the floor for a big man. Great nose for the ball on both ends of the court. One of the best offensive rebounders in the country. As he goes, so does the North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm probably sure they're happy they don't have to hear about Duke anymore.
Yeah, well, Duke's out the picture now.
Yeah, and let's throw in South Carolina because, you know, here's a team making its very first Sweet 16. They hadn't won any games of significance like this in 44 years. You know, we've had the 64 team bracket since '85.
Yeah, well, they're number 16.
You know, I think
they're number 16.
They're number 16.
Yep, they're at the bottom of the bucket.
They're the first timers in the bunch.
Yeah, probably so, but they did make it now. They 16. It says the final 16. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So they made it now. So we can't take that away from them.
So I look at South Carolina like this.
Mm-hmm.
If they were able to quicken the pace on Duke
Mm-hmm.
the way that they did,
Mm-hmm.
if they can do this, if they can do the same in this next round to their next opponent, I dare say they've got a good shot at the Elite Eight. Will they make the Final Four? I don't think they've got enough. I don't think they quite have enough. But the job that their coach has done to bring that program up out of the ashes and put them in a position to make some noise. They actually can hang a Sweet 16 banner in their gym now.
I mean, really, really. How about number 8, Florida Gators?
The Florida Gators have a front court that is very athletic. They've got one of the legacies of the Berries that still does that underhand free throw shooting, which works. Don't ask me how that's gonna does, but it works. They've moved on from Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan has now been in Oklahoma City at the pro ranks now for a couple of years. But this Florida program has not missed a beat since its departure.
Wow.
Will they make the Final Four? They got a good enough club to do so. I'm not sure if they will.
Well, going back to South Carolina, I think because they are the underdogs, nobody really thinks that they're going to do anything. Looking at the way this March Madness has been going so far, anything's possible. South Carolina could take it. You never know. Because it really ain't skill. It's more hunger than skill.
Let's look back to the run that Wichita State had a few years ago. Nobody thought they would do what they did to make it to the Final Four. And now they have become basically the class of the mid-majors.
Yes.
What do I mean by mid-majors? Missouri Valley, West Coast, Big West, the Horizon League, so on and so forth. Yeah, those are your mid-majors. And they've made a lot of noise over the last few years in making the Final Four, and in some rare cases, making the championship game.
Yeah.
So the last team I know from the mid-majors to make the championship game was Butler. They did it 2 years in a row.
Well, now, yeah, and they got a dog in the fight too now. What about number 9, the Baylor Bears? We'll get to Butler though.
That's interesting. The Baylor Bears. They've got a good 3-4 combination portion in their club. Good wide bodies. They can run the floor. They can shoot the rock. High flyers. The crazy thing about it is with the center of this sexual assault allegation center over their heads, it's a wonder that they've been able to play the way that they have. Because people are asking about him, especially with Art Briles, the former head football coach, being one of the linchpins of that controversy. So it's got to be weighing on them as they get closer to Phoenix.
Well, but they're still pushing through. So, kudos to them for, having that pressure on them and still being in the final 16, What about top 10 or number 10 Purdue Boilermakers?
They have arguably one of the best players going today in Caleb Swanigan. Young man is 6'8". He's a National Player of the Year candidate. Good range, a good post play, can run the floor. I dare say if Purdue puts this all together and at least keep their opponents honest, because they're keying in on Swanigan. They got to get those guards ready to fire off a 3 at a moment's notice. If they can rock an inside-out game where they establish Swanigan, and then as everybody collapses on Swanigan, you start kicking it out to the wingman who can hit the 3. Purdue has a good chance. Not a great chance,
but a good chance.
Mm-hmm. A good chance to make the Final Four.
Okay, now number 11, Butler Bulldogs. So we were talking about Butler a minute ago. So go on and talk about them.
Butler this year really doesn't impress me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've been able to scoot by with a couple of the wins, but nobody really sticks out at me on this team. Mm-hmm. You know, they're a good scrappy team. You know, again, this is one of the teams that's carrying the mid-major banner. When Brad Stevens was their coach there before he went to Boston, those were the back-to-back championship game appearances, including a near miss against Duke the first time. Mm-hmm. I mean, that ball was going in the bucket. It just rimmed out.
Wow.
The buzzer sounded. That's how close Butler was to a national championship.
Wow.
It was that.
Wow.
I mean, I'm watching the watch party from Old Hinkle Fieldhouse. I mean, that arguably one of the most historic places. That's, of course, where they filmed the final scene for the movie Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. Old Hinkle Fieldhouse. It's a very historic place in Indiana basketball. But, you know, you see the agony on the fans' faces, but they truly did carry that Butler team during that magical run to the championship game and a near title there. This year's team, I don't know. The jury's still out with me on the Butler club.
Yeah, because they're saying here that they're still, you know, they might be sleeping on Butler. You know, Butler might wake them up. What about number 12, the Oregon Ducks?
The Oregon Ducks. Mm-hmm. They've been up and down this year. Mm-hmm. For them to be here in the Sweet 16 says a lot about how their coaching staff has been able to turn this program around. Because Oregon, and a lot of people don't know, Oregon actually won the first NCAA Division I tournament, or what was the university tournament at the time. And it was of all places, Northwestern.
Well, they say that they got a killer combo on the team, Dylan Brooks and Tyler Dorsey.
Watch those two. All 12 players. That they complement each other very well.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
I had a chance to see the Pac-12 tournament with them, and you know, they're absolutely right. One of the best tandems out west, if not the country. And Oregon is better for them. That's why they're sitting in another Sweet 16.
Okay, now what about Michigan Wolverines, number 13?
If Michigan makes the Final Four, and I have them making the Final Four, you have to go back to that life-threatening incident of when they were on their way to the Big Ten tournament in D.C. The plane skidded off the runway, and everybody thought this was almost Illinois State. Because Illinois State had a similar incident. Unfortunately, they lost a few coaches in that unfortunate accident a couple of years ago. Michigan was lucky. These youngsters have rallied themselves together and said, look, if we can make it through that, we can make it to the Final Four. They played exactly like that. Derek Wilson and Mo Wagner have been lights out. They have won their last 6 postseason games, and I dare say Michigan is on a roll. They knocked off 2-seed Louisville easily.
Wow.
You don't do that to a Rick Pitino team in the tournament that often.
Wow. Well, hey, you know, sometimes your life flashing before you can make you do things that you never thought you would. What about number 14, the Wisconsin Badgers?
Here's another upset special. Wisconsin, a former Final Four team. For them to upset Villanova doesn't surprise me. You know, this is a program that has been on the rise as of late. Old Ryan has left that program in some pretty good hands, and they have not missed a step. They might sleeper pick for the Final Four. I think they'll make it to the Elite Eight, but no further.
Okay. What about number 15, Xavier Musketeers?
Here's a perennial Sweet 16 team that is always up to the challenge. They're another one of those teams that proudly carries the mid-major banner. They're now in the Big East Conference. And that conference is making a nice comeback on the basketball range, because back in the day, when you had teams like Georgetown, Syracuse, St. John's, Boston College, all up and down that East Coast, all those old school Catholic programs that made it the Big East. It made it a fun conference to watch. It's a fun conference again to watch for basketball. But now you've got Creighton in the mix. You now have DePaul in the mix. You now have Xavier in the mix, making it a little bit bigger, even though it's still somewhat east of the Mississippi, save for Creighton, who is over in Omaha, Nebraska. They're the westernmost part of the Big East Conference. But that notwithstanding, the Big East has become a fun basketball conference once again, and Xavier is one of those reasons why. I see them as another sleeper pick to potentially make their first ever Final Four. They've got a fun club in that Cincinnati area. You know, now granted, their battles with crosstown Cincinnati University have been a bit interesting as of late. But you know, that has always toughened them up for the stretch run in the tournament. Again, a perennial Sweet 16 team, a sleeper pick for the Final Four. I say they'll make the Elite Eight.
Okay.
I think they got the goods for the Elite Eight. They gotta have something extra to make their first Final Four.
Okay, so what? Okay, and 16, which we've already talked about, is South Carolina Gamecocks. So who do you pick for the Final Four?
I've got Kansas. I've got Michigan. I've got Gonzaga. And I've got North Carolina.
Okay. So now let me tell you who I got. And write these down, okay?
All right.
I got South Carolina.
Really?
Yep, South Carolina. I'm going with Michigan. I'm also going with Xavier. And the last team I'm going to go with is Kentucky.
You think the Blue Bloods will still make it up to Phoenix, huh?
Yeah, I think they can. I think Mr. Ball, you know, wait a minute. Yeah, not Mr. Ball, Mr. Bam Akintunde, and Malik Monk.
I like Malik Monk.
Yeah.
Nice. They've been getting a lot of athletic kids coming in Kentucky as of late.
Yeah. You know, I think there's a possibility. You know, I know Zagam is good. You know, they only lost one game. Okay? They only lost one game, and they're far ahead of everybody else when it comes to people catching up with them in terms of their, you know, in terms of their score, or in terms of their ability, you know. But I don't know. But you got my fault.
Hey, if I may, I want to talk about some of the lower tier basketball tournaments that have popped up as of late.
Okay.
The second tier has always been the National Invitational Tournament. As a matter of fact, what people may not know, the younger generation may not know this, but the National Invitational Tournament predated what we now know as the NCAAs. They were the tournament to determine the national championship way back when. And the tradition to go toward Madison Square Garden still is. There is some Prairie State representation still.
Yeah.
In that tournament, and oddly enough, it's the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Wow.
They are a 2 seed this year. They easily handled their second round opponent in front of their new coach Brian Underwood, who just came over from Oklahoma State. So they're like, hey, look, we got the new coach in the house. Let's show them what we can do. If they win their next game this coming week, they're on their way to Madison Square Garden.
Well, Well, yes, that is a big place to play, nonetheless. But listen, um, I've had a ball with you, Alvin. I've enjoyed talking basketball with you because basketball happens to be one of the sports that I do like. Okay, you know how we women are.
Speaking of women,
Yes, yes,
I want to wish the best of luck because I'm a big HBCU fan myself. I want to
yes.
wish the best of luck to Virginia Union as they're in the Division II Elite Eight in Columbus, Ohio. A lot of experts are saying this team has the goods to potentially win their first ever national championship at the D2 level.
Okay, okay. It's been said, baby. We wish you the best of luck, Virginia.
Union.
Say that again.
Virginia Union.
Virginia Union. That's right. That's right.
Charles
Females. Well, Charles Oakley. Okay, Charles Oakley. We ain't gonna talk about him right now. Anyway, sweetheart, listen, it's been a blast talking with you. Guys, hey, you have it from Alvin. Alvin then gave you his final four. I gave you mine. So let's see who shows up as the victors in this NCAA matchup. Okay. So listen, you're listening to the Jamaica Funk Show. If you want to check us out, you can go to iHeartRadio. You'll find us there at Jamaica Funk Show. Also, JamaicaFunkShow.com. You can also see our podcast on the website. We have Twitter pages, Facebook pages, Instagram page. So you'll find us out there as well. And you'll find us on YouTube. So I'm going to take these last 7 or 6 minutes, and I'm going to give you some music. I want to thank you guys for being here with me today, because without you, there is no me. And so I really appreciate you spending your evening with me and Alvin. Alvin, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge with regards to the basketball teams that are out there, the Big 12. And listen, guys, like I said, without you, there is no me. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some music. Well,
like Portland. When my be a man, all our people are dead. What 90 are squeezing a this morning, smile with the rising sun. Three little birds, pitch by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true, saying, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing.
with DJ
Yeah. The other day you come check me. Somebody when me call me fam. The two of we a reason both where we a come from. Me tell him me a fly out a morning because of the hit songs. Me tell him say a company sign me and him a give me about 30 million. Me coulda see it now myself. You never happy for me. Make people so bad mind, yeah. Make you not happy for me, boy. Look how long we apart. Look how long we apart. No one time for me rise, and you not look happy for the stars. Get to you. Careful who you tell your secret. I know everybody happy for you. No feud fi fly out a morning, and somehow them not happen fi go. See you got bad mind people, dirty heart people, make them so evil us. The same one you call your friend not the worst, them a free for you. Oh.
Me ever have the money on my mind, hustling in the rain or when the sun here to shine. And me a build a song and run out of words. Give me 30 grand or 30 other rhyme. Instantly, money a motivate me. Nanny me, love for all your baby. Now every dollar me earn me saving. A big money farm me cultivating. The trees start grow a pouncy bearing. Life gets sweet, me love the pastry. Get to you just go and hold the faith. Reach your goal me say, and you surely make it. Give me the G's, no money me need you. And why you think man in the streets, so no make me feel so. Give me the G's, no. Cause this a pit bull bigger me ego. Give me the G's, no bad feel like a sack on the show. Why you think man no bad feel okay. Never feel like watching with foot up I'm Joshua, and I'm telling you now. It's alright, it's okay. You're never gonna get to more than you can be. It's alright, it's okay. Telling you now, you're never gonna get to more than you can be. Nobody feel like a huge punish, cause you're dead mind and the sunny. And so for time things no work out for we, and the attitude gets sloppy. No way. But why feel down over what you no get? You might not get the ones, but your needs are met. So anytime you feel like being ungrateful, remember that the next man is in a casket and say, it's alright, it's okay. You never gonna get to more than you can.
It's just too grand. A juvenile will take your life away, and your best friend will put you up for sale. JPS cut off your life today, and that's just too grand. It's just too grand. A juvenile will take your life away, and your best friend will put you up for sale. JPS cut off your life today, and that's just too grand. It's just too grand. Man, I hustle too hard for you, owe me 2 grand, 2 weeks. That too long, me brethren tell me say him woman, tell him say she want 2 man. Cause she tired of the 2 grand. Over Guyana, 2 grand can't buy nothing. So them a dig for the gold or a draw for the soap. Hard the road of opportunity, no easy for nothing. So we have to elevate from the struggle. It's just too.
Motivation is a strong word in relation to the work. So who motivate me and you will create me? You don't have to say another word. Motivation is a strong word in relation to the works. So who motivate me and you will create me?